Hello everybody, I am the Knife Lunatic, and today we're going to be looking at the Buck Bantam. This is the large model, and I would refer to this as the really poor man's Sebenza. A lot of people say, well, how can you really compare this to a Sebenza? Well, the grind is very similar. Without this swedge, it's basically the same grind, only the Sebenza comes all the way up to the top. And remember I said the really poor man's Sebenza. I've never actually even handled a Sebenza, so I wouldn't really know, but it's basically similar. The steel on this is, I'm going to say, equal in its ability to get sharp. It's equal to VG10. Obviously, it's not as hard as VG10. It's not as hard as VG10, and it's not as durable. It won't hold an edge as long. But for some reason, I'm able to get this thing as sharp as VG10. And I mean, a lot of people, they'll show you cutting paper. I think that's useless. Almost anything sharp can cut paper, but shaving, I think, is a really good test. But not only will this knife shave the large hairs on my arm, but this knife will shave the very small, almost peach fuzz on my shoulder. And I got it that sharp just by using the Lansky and just putting it at a steeper angle and just doing the very edge, just kissing the very edge, not reprofiling it at all, and it stayed incredibly sharp. If you use this for things that aren't too demanding, it will stay sharp a good long time. This, when you first get it, you'll notice that it's quite difficult to open. This doesn't flip open too quickly. There aren't any special liners in it or anything like that. And I don't have any problem with that really, because I don't really get. It's nice having a knife that flips open, but for the price, I don't mind it at all. How I open it is I put the middle in there. I'm doing this exaggeratedly, but I put the middle in between my index finger and my middle finger. I sort of push my index finger off to the side, and then I use those as leverage to push it open. And then you'll have to change your grip. So I'll grab it at the bottom with my pinky and my middle finger there, and do the rest, flip it up to the top, and you'll notice a huge snap. You'll notice like a snap in your hands when you flip it up there. So one of the first things guys like to do, kids or anybody who gets these knives, is put some oil on it. And I've heard a lot of interesting stories about, as a kid on YouTube who's putting WD-40 on it, and he noticed, wow, my knife has all this play. And what's happening is we put any kind of petroleum-based product on a normal plastic, because this is not any kind of special material, this is just plastic. So if you put any kind of petroleum-based product on a plastic knife, it's going to eat through the plastic, because plastic is petroleum-based and petroleum is petroleum. So basically when you put petroleum on something like this, it turns it back into oil. And you'll notice a lot of play. It gets sloppy. It basically melts it. So I would suggest using this stuff. Anything silicone-based. Anything silicone-based. This 3-in-1 stuff's really good. I quite like this. It says it's safe on metal, rubber, wood, and vinyl. I think anything safe on wood is going to be safe for your plastic or anything like that. And it works just as good as WD-40. Except it's not going to ruin your knife. The balance point on these knives, a lot of people do reviews and they don't show the balance point. That's really important to me, because you're watching this review thinking, am I going to buy this knife, or what more can I do with the knife that I have right now? And here's the balance point. It's just before that first finger groove there. So I don't end up putting my pointer finger there. I end up putting my middle finger there, and then pinching it here, doing a sort of pinch grip like that. I end up holding it like that. That way you can control the knife completely, because the balance point is right there at the middle. And that really works well for me. Plus it's a very thin knife. It's a very thin knife that way, so it really works well for a lot of, I noticed a lot of hunters. There's this guy called Virtual Voices on YouTube, a really good channel, a Japanese guy. And he talks a lot about being very important for the knife to be thin from the bolster, because a lot of knives they thin out the bolster and they thin out the scales as it comes towards the blade, so you can get that pinch grip. And he does a lot of his work like that, removing what I guess they're called back straps, and skinning animals and things like that. He holds a knife like this a lot, which incidentally I do too. Although I don't do any hunting, I'll hold it this way if I'm cutting up my green peppers and things of that nature. And one thing about these knives is finding a good one. Because these are so cheap, a lot of them have problems with the grinds. One very quick way you can tell if the knife in the store you're looking at is messed up or not is look at the back of it. These knives are made in such a way to where the spine is flat all the way to the tip, which is really cool. Very accurate grinds on my particular model. This is incidentally a 2008 model. I got this at Walmart out of a box. They used to sell them out of black and yellow boxes. I think now they're selling them out of the plastic clamshells, which is good and bad. The plastic clamshells, you're able to see one side of the knife without having to open the package, but you're not able to actually take it out of the box like you used to be able to in Walmart and actually inspect the entire knife. But if you look at it that way, you can see also here too at the spot where the blade gets thinner because of the swedge. Sometimes one part will be lower, slightly lower than the other, so you can see if your knife has is ground equally just by looking at the back of the spine. You'll be able to tell right away if there are any problems. Mine is just a bit off center right at the tip. You can tell the grind is in that way, but other than that, it's perfectly ground, and that's why I picked this one. And I mean the Chinese do good work. If you pay them, they do beautiful work. I mean, look at those grinds, just absolutely amazing. Buck is also one great thing about this knife is you don't have to worry about it being junk, because Buck is engraved into the actual knife. And a lot of other companies, you'll notice with a lot of products in general, they don't have their company logo or insignia engraved into their product or embossed into their product. What it is it's always a sticker or a plaque that can be easily removed or swapped. I have a, you may have seen this knife. This is actually, I've seen this exact same knife sold under the Smith & Wesson brand, or the M-Tech brand, but I've actually seen the exact same knife under the Smith & Wesson brand, and I got this at a local flea market, and this one says, you probably won't be able to see it because of my camera, but it says Hero Edge. But I'm not saying it's a bad knife, but what the problem with this is they're all made probably in 1 or 2 factories in China, and the companies that sell them, the companies are no more than an office building in the States, and they just buy the product from the factories in China. And so if the product is crap, the company you bought it from doesn't get any problem for that. They don't get any they don't have any problem with that, and the factory in China doesn't have any problem with that. You're the only one who loses in that equation. Because if the knife has a problem, the company in the States will stop buying it, and the factory in China will just put another label on it. So what I'm trying to say is, if a company goes to the lengths of actually engraving their name into their product, they're stuck with it. If the product is crap, their name becomes crap. So the fact that Buck went to such lengths is to mold it into the grip and engrave it into the blade shows you that they're quite happy with the product, and that they think that it's going to be an asset to their name and not a liability. Yeah, that's about it. Another one of the things about a lot of times people do reviews like, wow, that knife looks really small, and then and look at those beautiful grinds. That knife looks really small, and then you realize this guy has enormous hands. So you've probably been looking at the knife throughout this review, and you realize my hands are actually quite large. 6 inches from the bottom of my hand coming up to about the knuckle on my middle finger. So if this knife looks small, it's not. It's quite large, and it's a really great knife for the money, good steel and all that. It would be a great user, and that's about it. Knife Lunatic.